Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm Grace, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
So our theme for season 3, as you all hopefully know by now, is back to school, which means children and YA historical fiction. And this week we're reading Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis, which was one of my recommendations, and I think I either read the whole thing in school or an abridged, like, you know how, like, English textbooks in elementary school had, like, the abridged.
Like partial, yeah. I read some stuff that way.
So I read one of those versions.
Okay, and I have never read it before. However, if our listeners can cast their minds back to the beginning of the season when we were reading Chains, Johnny Tremaine, etc., go back to our conversation about the Newbery Award, because this was a winner, not just a nominee. This was the winner of the Newbery Medal.
Yes, and getting ahead of myself, deservedly so.
Absolutely. But first, let's talk about what you have coming up this week, because you have something big on the docket.
Actually, the day this episode premieres, I will have just gotten back from Rio.
Hey.
Rio, I kept saying that to people. We had a party last night. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to Rio. And they're like, Rio. And I'm like, de Janeiro, like, of Brazil fame.
Is there any other Rio? Like, what kind of question is that?
The Rio Grande. Like, I guess, the river. I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
But when I say Rio, I just kind of assume people like know what I'm talking. I think it just caught people out. I mean, which it shouldn't, because I travel a lot.
That's true.
And I think people were just surprised.
I guess I don't know a lot of people that have gone to Rio.
Well, that's been the thing for this trip, is that we don't know. Usually we know like at least one person who's been where we're going. No one. So we have been just like freestyling our planning.
I always have to recalibrate in my head, because for me, with my brain that's been completely gymnastics pilled, going to Rio means that you've made the 2016 Olympic team.
Oh my God, I wish I did.
Yeah. So at least we know that you'll be safe from the American swimmers that randomly robbed that one gas station.
Oh my God, literally. And we're staying on Ipanema Beach, which is famously, in Breaking Dawn Part 1, Robert Pattinson, Edward Cullen, of course, when they were going to the honeymoon location, he told like the crew, he's like, no, I don't need to stand in. I can drive the boat. And he crashed the boat like 3 times on Ipanema Beach.
Okay, it's completely their fault after the first time that they didn't swap him out.
They just let him. It was 2 or 3. He either crashed it 3 times or got it on his 3rd time.
Well, just be really careful, because I remember what happens in Rio in that movie, and I don't want it to happen to you.
Oh my God. No, I'm so excited, though. I need a vacation so badly. So I'm really excited.
Well, can't wait for you.
So we've been trip planning. What have you been up to? Probably it sounds like the opposite of trip planning.
Well, what I wrote in the notes was to talk about how I was sick and snowed in and stuck inside. However, we talked about that last week, so I won't talk about it again.
That is true.
So I will say, actually, I'm going to be in New York this weekend.
Oh, going back to New York?
Yeah, without you, which is very sad.
I know. What are you doing there this weekend?
I'm just going to be there for one night because I'm going to see Gypsy.
Ooh, very fun. Are you going by yourself? Solo trip?
No, I'm meeting my friend from home, Kate. Shout out to Kate.
Oh, yes.
But I asked for a hotel room for my birthday because I was like, I want to see Gypsy. I'm prepared to drop a reasonable amount of money on it.
The hotel is
but like not an excessive amount of money.
Yeah.
And not to brag, but my family are Hilton Diamond for Life members.
Oh,
so,
yes.
you know, I go to them for all my hotel needs.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
But yeah. What have you been reading? You have something very interesting written here.
I have something very interesting, and it's actually the book I've downloaded to read on my 10-hour flight to Rio.
No Benadryl.
Which we have very bad track record. However, I'm reading, or I will be reading, Friday on my flight when I'm not sleeping off the Benadryl. He Who Drowned the World, which is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun.
Okay, I will be so interested to hear about that, because, as we recall, She Who Became the Sun was not my favorite thing in the world. So I've decided that I didn't want...
Yeah, it was like pretty mid-ranking for you.
I didn't hate it, but it was not like my favorite thing. However, when I was in a bookstore and I found a physical copy of He Who Drowned the World, I picked it up to read the flap just to see. And it was super intriguing sounding. Yeah. So if you tell me that it's a 10 out of 10, I might change my mind.
I'm excited. And I really liked She Who Became the Sun. Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested in this one. I'm thinking I also might have some variety. Like for my flight back, I'm thinking I might stick to the pod theme and download some of the Codename Verity books.
That's smart,
the cycle books.
We need to discuss.
We still need to
reading them in different orders.
I know,
because I'm completely dedicated to that idea.
So I am excited. I'm going to be, at least this books I'm like more excited about than The Luminary. So I don't think my experience will be as bad. Mm-hmm. And also now that I have like the issue with that one is I had to pay for like 10 minutes of in-flight Wi-Fi to re-download it because
I remember
like
because you kept having a problem.
Yeah, but now I figured out how iCloud works. So we're on good footing.
Fab.
What are you reading?
Okay, last year, we talked a little bit about reading goals last week. Last year, my big thing was knocking a ton of books off of my TBR, which I did do. I was successful. So thumbs up for me. So now this year, because of that, I have not really been checking books out from the library. So I've decided this year is all about checking books off of the list of things that I would like to read that I don't own. So I started with a book that has been on like the top of my list to read for like 2 or 3 years now, which is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea Summers.
Oh, I think I read this. I don't see it on my Storygraph right now, but I think I've read this one.
Maybe it was in your pre-Storygraph era?
It could have been pre-Storygraph.
Yeah. If you've seen it, it's one of those ones that's like the cover is like a Renaissance painting. But it is about a female food critic who is a cannibalistic serial killer.
Yes.
So it's written with a lot of lofty language, but the plot is very pulpy. However, I enjoyed it very much, and I enjoyed getting it from my library system. So thank you to the library.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a lovely year together.
All right. Well, should we hop into the synopsis?
Yes. Lay it on me.
All right. It's 1936 in Flint, Michigan. Times may be hard, and 10-year-old Bud may be a motherless boy on the run, but Bud's got a few things going for him. 1, he has his own suitcase full of special things. 2, he's the author of Bud Caldwell's Rules and Things for Having a Funner Life and Making a Better Liar Out of Yourself. 3, his mama never told him who his father was, but she left a clue. Flyers advertising Herman E. Calloway and his famous band, the Dusky Devastators of the Depression, with 6 exclamation points.
The exclamation points are important.
Yes. Bud's got an idea that those flyers will lead him to his father. Once he decides to hit the road to find this mystery man, nothing can stop him. Not hunger, not fear, not vampires, not even Herman E. Calloway himself. So that is a very, I feel like for, a child audience, a very enticing synopsis.
Yeah. And
it's very fun. It's short. It's punchy.
And it gives you an accurate reflection of how charming the inside will be.
Yes. Bud is an incredibly charming narrator.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So a little bit about the author. This was actually, about the book first. This was actually the first book to receive both the Newbery Medal and the Coretta Scott King Award, which is given to Black authors.
Oh, and if we recall, also, we have read the Reconstruction Dear America also won the Coretta Scott King.
Yes. So Christopher Paul Curtis was born in Flint in 1953, so he's from the area.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Which I'll talk about in the historical accuracy.
Great.
He didn't become a published author until his 40s, and up until then, he worked in an automobile factory. So he was, I feel like for a lot of children's books authors, like more later in life, coming to writing, which is a very cool thing we've seen a lot of this season.
Wonderful.
So this was his second book, and I didn't note the name of his first book, but those two made like an immediate impact.
Oh, I remember, because I just reread, because a little later I want to talk about the introductions that were in my copy.
Okay.
So he discussed the first book, which is The Watsons Go to Birmingham.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, this was his second book. In 2024, he was awarded the Coretta Scott King - Virginia Hamilton Award for Lifetime Achievement.
Oh, whoa.
Which is really cool.
Okay.
So on the website I was referencing, it said his last book was published in 2008, but then on Storygraph, I saw some with like more recent years.
Oh.
So.
Not sure.
I'm not quite sure. I didn't really, this is not super relevant, but he has like a good number of books.
Okay.
I have not read anything else by this author. However, like I said, I did read either the full book or an abridged version of this back in school, and there's no movie version of this. However, I think it would make a charming movie.
I think it would make a great movie, actually. And I never read this book before, but when we were sitting down to make our list of books for the season and you suggested this, I was immediately on board just because I remember this is one of the titles that you heard over and over. Like, this is a classic. And I just never read it for whatever reason.
And then you found it in a little free library like 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So I'm going to probably put it back in because it's not in great shape. And also I think like if a child gets their hands on this, it's better than me just keeping it in my house forever. But I have my copy right here that came fresh out of a little free library. And it's the 20th anniversary edition.
Ooh, very nice.
Yes.
All right. So disclaimer, our judgments come based on the book and characters within them rather than any real historical figures they may have been based on, which is going to come up again later.
Okay.
So to begin, I, once again, much like some of the other books we've read before, I listened to the audiobook version. And this audiobook was probably the best audiobook I've ever listened to. Like the narrator.
Ever?
Yeah, that I would say up with this, and then I always rank Daisy Jones in the 6 just because of the style of that was so suited for audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
The narrator was so phenomenal. Like Bud already has so much personality packed into his little, I don't know how, 8-year-old, 10-year-old body. And the narrator was just like phenomenal.
So was it a child or was it a grown-up?
No, it was an adult who was just like having so much fun with it. Like he characterized Bud so well. And also like the transitions between chapters and when there was like a section break in the book, they had like fun jazz music. So it really added to the vibe. And I listened to it driving back and forth from work, and it was just so nice to listen to after like a long day at work or an early wake up, you know?
Oh,
but
I love that.
The audiobook, The Four Winds was fun because of the accents. This was an outstanding audiobook.
Okay. Well, here, let's talk about like the two things that we each like framed our experiences.
Yes.
Did you have any intros in the audiobook or did it just like dive right in?
I believe it just dove right in.
Okay, because like I said, I found a copy of it in a little free library, and it's the 20th anniversary edition.
Okay.
So it has 2 very brief introductions. One of them is from Christopher Paul Curtis himself.
Okay.
And it was talking about his process of writing the book. And really, he came out with his first book, which is how I remember that it was The Watsons Go to Birmingham. And that was such a huge smash success. And then his publisher was like, oh my gosh, please tell me you have more books like this at home. And he was like, I don't at the moment,
okay.
but I will write that. Don't worry about it. So he was saying like my process of writing it, he had to get himself out of the headspace of like, I need to write a book that will live up to this other one. I need to write a successful book. And he was like, I just want to enjoy the process of writing it. So, and clearly that worked because it came out, the result was phenomenal. But then also there was a small introduction from Kwame Alexander, who is a Newbery medalist from more recent times. He wrote The Crossover. Yeah, the cover is the like a silhouette of a boy playing basketball.
Okay, maybe I don't know this one actually.
Okay, I don't think I read it, but I recognize the cover. But he's a more recent Newbery medalist for a book with an African American boy as a protagonist. And at the time that Bud Not Buddy won, it was only the 3rd Newbery medalist with an African-American protagonist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just to see the effect that book still had, like Kwame Alexander wrote about like getting the book for his nephew and the impact that he could see of that book having on his young nephew and all of that. It put me in a good headspace because I was like, I feel like the person who's writing it, I understand him. I feel like seems like a good person. His book is having all of this lasting impact on authors and children after him. So that was a really good lead-in for me entering the plot of the book.
So we both had different like staging elements going on, but I think both added to the experience.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I mean, oftentimes when I get a book that has like something in the beginning, I will just skip it. So I'm glad I didn't do it this time.
Sometimes I do as well. Should we just start going through the plot? I feel like we can move through the plot kind of quickly on this book. This book is like a fast-paced one.
Yeah, for sure. I read it in one day.
Yeah, the audiobook was like 5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very quick.
Okay. Here, do you want to start off?
Yeah, so Bud starts, he is like in an orphanage foster care, facility sounds, very harsh. But like a home, yes, like a home, like a group home for kids. And he finds out immediately he's going to a new foster home. And everyone's kind of like, oh, shit.
And the first line of the book is, here we go again.
Yeah. So it's like, these kids do not want to go to foster homes. Because it's kind of the situation of like, it's the Great Depression. The foster parents receive money for like taking in these kids.
They're not loving homes.
No, they're not. So he is like immediately in a very bad situation, like being abused by their bio son who lives there. And they make him sleep out in the shed. Like, it's awful. So he immediately like runs away.
And this is from the start, you get exactly the balance of the comedy and tragedy.
Yeah.
Because obviously the situation for this poor kid, he doesn't know his father and his mother has passed away. His mother who he, remembers and who loved him very much. But also, and like now he's in this foster home, they're making him sleep out in the shed. But then also the comedy of he's convinced himself that there are vampire bats in the shed. He locks himself in to like try and kill the vampire bats. What it turns out
to be
a hornet's nest. Yeah. He has to punch out the glass because he's trapped in like there's this comedy element of, and it's balanced so well because the protagonist being this 10-year-old boy, he doesn't get the grand sense of tragedy that I was going to say that you do as an adult reading it, but the point is not for adults to read it. Yeah. We just are adults.
But I feel like the kids would pick up on it.
It's mature. Absolutely.
But yeah, so he gets out of there and then he's like, well, I need to find my father. And his one clue is that his mother had always kept this flyer for the band, for Herman Calloway's band.
Yes. And so he's like, Herman Calloway is my father.
And had been like very touchy when he asked about it. Like, so he's like, it's kind of like when you, and there's a point where he talks about this in the book. It's like a seed growing and you talk yourself into it and you talk yourself into believing it. So he is like, this man is my father.
Mm-hmm. And a very crucial element of him is like, he doesn't really have anything permanent anymore, like no home and no family, but he has his suitcase with all of his things.
Yes.
And the flyers are in his suitcase with his things.
Yeah.
So then he's like, great. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to walk to Grand Rapids.
Yes.
And we quickly establish that he like thinks that he can do that, but we know that
that's
Grand Rapids is not a place you can walk to.
So he stops over in a Hooverville, which is, during the Great Depression, like,
as we all know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
shanty town.
The shanty town where all the tent, like a la Four Winds,
Just not in California.
Yeah, just not in California. So he's there for a bit. He was going to hop on a train and then he wasn't able to. So it's this whole thing. And then he gets back to walking.
Yes.
And someone stops him on the road. He's trying to hide in the bushes because he's like, oh my God, this man is a vampire. Why is he out at night? And it's just like a man, another black man, driving through this town in Michigan.
And crucially, a sundown town.
Yes.
And Bud doesn't know that because he's a child, but the grown man who sees him on the side of the road fully knows what would happen to him if he's caught after dark in this sundown town.
Yes. So this man is trying everything to like get him in the car.
Yeah. And of course, he's like driving like donated blood between hospitals.
Yeah.
So poor Bud is like, oh my God, you're definitely a vampire.
Exactly.
And finally, the man manages to convince him by being like, do you think if I was a real vampire, I would have the blood in this box? Like, I would just drink it. It wouldn't stay in the box.
Exactly.
And then
and
Bud's
it's
like,
very funny. It's very funny. And then he like tries to take the car and drive away. Like Bud tries to, and then he like can't drive.
But he doesn't know how to drive.
It was very funny. But eventually Bud does go with him and stays overnight, I believe in Flint, with this man's family, who's all like very kind and loving.
Yeah. And they like make him pancakes and they like all sit around the table like a normal family to have breakfast. And
this character's name is Lefty Lewis, by the way.
Great name.
I'm going to bring up again later. But eventually Lefty Lewis and Bud is like, I'm going to meet my father who lives in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
And then
so Bud is really crafty because he didn't say, I'm walking to Grand Rapids. What he says is, I ran away from Grand Rapids, fully knowing then that Lefty will take him back.
Yes.
Which is what happens.
Which he does, to where Herman E. Calloway and the band are playing at their venue, and I forget what it's called. Yeah, at the club.
It doesn't really matter.
So they're there, and Bud like shows up, and he's like, oh shit, like immediately Herman E. Calloway is going to be like, who are you? So he's like, I need Lefty Lewis to stay outside so he doesn't know I'm lying, like all of this. But eventually Bud gets in, and he's like, I'm your son. And Herman E. Calloway is like this old man.
Yeah, like really old. Everyone laughs when he's like, I'm your son. All the other band members are like, please, like,
And he's very, like, Herman is very, very callous, like, not interested. Like,
not nice, yeah.
No, not a nice guy. However, the rest of the band, especially the female singer, whose name I do not have written down, she is lovely, and she's like, this is a child without a home, like he's going to stay with us. And all the other band members like take him in as well.
Yeah, they're teaching him how to play the music. They take him to eat at a restaurant.
And there's one point at the restaurant, it's so sweet. He just starts sobbing because people are like, he has a family. People are being nice to him. It was also really cute to see, like, he had never been to a restaurant, and he's like, I can get whatever I want. This is crazy.
I know, and he was like, wow, the thing that I ordered is different from the thing that she ordered, which is different from the...
Exactly. Like... It was very sweet. Mm-hmm. But it was, I was crying, like, on my drive listening to that part where he was crying, because I'm like, he has a family, and just like this book has a big focus on community, but specifically the Black community helping each other.
Yes.
There's another part we didn't even talk about where he's in line at like a food bank, and they were going to, or a soup kitchen, they were going to turn him away because he showed up late. And then like this family was like, where have you been, like, pretending he was their son who ran off so he could eat with them?
And they all got, like, a portion of oatmeal for breakfast from the soup kitchen. And the mom brought brown sugar with
For her kids, yeah.
and shared it with him. And it was
very sweet.
Yeah.
Something I really liked about the band is they all have, like, jazz names, and they named him Sleepy LaBone because he sleeps a lot and he's skinny. And that really made me laugh. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. And he was like, wow, that's the best name I've ever heard.
So then he's traveling, and we're moving quickly through the plot because this book will capture a child's attention. It moves very quickly.
Yes. Like last time we talked about Uprising, how it took place over a period of like several months, if not like more than a year. Mm-hmm. This is a handful of days.
Yeah, this is very, very rapid.
And we're seeing all of the time. Like there's not anything that we're skipping.
No. So they're on the road going to like a concert somewhere.
Yeah, they're playing gigs all over Michigan.
Yeah. So they're on the road, and Bud is still trying to convince Herman he's his father. And he's like, Herman is like, there's no way, like, I'm not your father. But he sees that Herman has like all these rocks with like labeled the names he performed. And Bud's like, I have one of those.
Yeah. So every time they perform in a city, Herman will pick up a rock and write on it like, you know, Flint 53.
Yeah.
And then Bud is like, oh, yeah, I have some of those. And he opens up his suitcase and pulls out a couple of the rocks.
And Herman immediately thinks he stole them. And he's like, where did you get these? And they're from much longer ago. Like, it is not near the time of the 30s that they're in.
No.
And this is when we find out that Bud is Herman's grandson. So Bud's mom was Herman's daughter that ran away.
And Herman didn't know that she had died.
Yeah, which is devastating.
Yeah, so the end of that book, it's such a 1-2 because it finally occurs to him that, like, his daughter is never going to come home, which is God, it's so sad.
Yeah, I cried at the end.
I cried at the end, too. Like, I have it written down. But basically then, like, when it ends, Bud knows, like, there's been some uncertainty about whether or not he'll get to stay. Now he knows that, like, the room that he's been sleeping in was his, like, mother's childhood bedroom. So he can stay there. He never has to go anywhere.
He has a family.
The band is going to be his family. They're teaching him how to play music.
And he's like, I'm going to be so good overnight. It's so cute.
Yeah. Like, he has, you know, food and a bed and a family. And he, like, the end, I'm going to get, like, choked up just talking about it.
I know.
But he, like, puts up his mother's photo on the wall.
It's
so he can always see it. And then it's the same line from the beginning. It says, like, here we go again, Ma.
It's so exciting. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, my
I love it.
So it's, like, so sad at the end because you know all the stuff that has happened to him. And that, like, he and Herman had this hit Bud's mother in their lives who they loved so much, who they're not going to see again.
Yeah.
But they
have each other now. So sweet. It's really emotional.
Yeah.
I love that we had closure in this because I feel like there's like Uprising. It wasn't really a sense of closure, but it wasn't meant to be. Mm-hmm. But I love that we have a couple books this season where it's like real closure.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that I would have made it if you got to the end and Bud was like still like on the streets. Like, it might have killed me, to be honest. I am so glad that it got wrapped up.
I loved this book. Like I had last week with Uprising, I had just that issue with the framing. I did feel some of this book felt a little repetitive and some of the characters a little flat, but I also recognize that the audience is children and also younger children, I think, than Uprising. Mm-hmm. I am not the target audience.
Yeah. I will say, like, all of the band members, of which there are like 3 or 4, are completely interchangeable. I don't think that's like a big problem, but that is the case.
Yeah.
My biggest issue, and this is the only one, and it is minor in the grand scheme of things, but there's a lot of importance placed on Bud's suitcase. He always wants to have it near him. He like ties a string around it so he can tell if someone gets into it without his permission. He says he has all of his special things in there. And so that includes his blanket that he sleeps outside with. It includes the flyer for Herman Calloway and his band. The
rocks from his mom.
Yes, but crucially, we don't know that he has the rocks until that scene comes.
Yeah.
I think if we had known beforehand that he had them, that would have been a more impactful reveal.
I agree.
So that was my one thing that I would have wanted.
What's something that's really cute with the suitcase is like they tried it, like it's tattered, it's bad shape. They tried to get rid of it and replace it, like the band. And he's like, no, this is my special suitcase. And then when the band members was like, does the suitcase matter or does what's inside matter? And Bud is like, holy shit.
Like, I never thought of that.
So they put it in like an old like saxophone case or something for him instead.
Yeah, so they give him the upgrade.
It's very sweet. I really liked this book.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and make an extreme statement.
Okay.
Bud.
I love when you have an extreme statement.
Bud is the best protagonist of any book we have read for the podcast.
Any book.
Including all the other seasons for the books for grown-ups. Bud is the best one.
I wouldn't even argue with you. I'd say we have some who came close.
I was going to say I feel like every season we have a couple of really heavy hitters, but I would put Bud at the top of the list, like just over Violetta, over like any of them.
His personality was just, it was so childlike, it was so appropriate, and it was so fun. Like I loved reading his voice. Like
even through like let's look back at the books that we've read for the season. Obviously, maybe we shouldn't play Oppression Olympics because I'm like, he's going through the hardest time. And I'm like, actually,
not. But
people had a bad life in a lot of the books that we've read.
A lot of these books.
But like you feel the tragedy, but you're having so much fun with Bud.
Yeah.
He is such a great character. I don't know. I just felt, and then Christopher Paul Curtis is so good at showing us things and not telling us things.
Agreed.
Like even there's a relationship that Bud has with a character that's not even in the book. He goes to the library and asks to see a certain librarian.
Yep.
And it turns out that she's like gotten married and moved to Detroit or something. But you can even see just from that interaction that Bud like knows the library is a safe place. He had a relationship with this librarian.
Exactly.
Like all of that.
The off screen is like really good.
Yeah. He meets a girl in a Hooverville and like in the Hooverville and has his first kiss with this random
that was
girl.
So funny.
Yeah. He has a friend who he knew from the foster home who he gets split up from when he makes it onto the train and Bud doesn't. Like all of this stuff, there are so many relationships and all of them are characterized so well so that even if like the girl, for example, from the Hooverville doesn't stay in the book for very long, but you know the impact that she's had on Bud. Yeah. And that's the important thing because he is the axis around which the book revolves.
Agreed. Yeah, he keeps it at the center and it's so centered around him that it's like the perfect, I feel like everyone else who's in the book is in the book for the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get into the historical accuracy? I feel like we're kind of moving through this one.
Yes.
I mean, that's with the pacing of the book. Like, it's just such a quick book.
Yeah. I mean, like, you have our plot summary. And then the only other thing that's, like, I think so important to emphasize as to, like, especially why this book is so deserving of the Newbery medal is Bud as a character. Yes. Like, that's the entire book is Bud.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get into the historical accuracy section. So Herman and Lefty Lewis were based on both of his grandfathers.
I did read that at the end. I loved hearing that.
Yes. But before I get into them, I just want to add in the author's notes on the audiobook, there was one point in the story where they had like Lefty Lewis's grandchildren or whatever had like this silly song that they sang. And it was actually a song his daughter wrote to like make fun of her brother. And on the audiobook, in the author's note, he like brought her on to sing it. It was so cute.
Oh my God.
And I loved that. So that was an extra special audiobook experience.
I love that.
But just the Great Depression overview. I mean, Hooverville is very real and very common, as we saw in the Four Winds. Bud was already an orphan, but many parents were forced to abandon their children at orphanages or leave them at Hooverville's, like the little girl in the book who was his first kiss, as they searched for work. And Michigan actually economically fared a lot worse than most of the country. Its unemployment rate was like 10% higher than the national average at the time, which I didn't realize.
Oof.
But I guess because like all, Michigan's a lot of factories and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, just some stuff there. But the character of Lefty Lewis was based on the author's grandfather, who was actually a red cap working at the train station. It was one of the few good jobs available to Black men at the time. But that doesn't mean it was a good job. It was really unfair treatment, low wages, could be fired for not even, smiling or appearing happy at work. The train station eventually fired Black employees during the Depression. And then his grandfather went on to open a restaurant, which is kind of cool.
Okay, pivot.
And then Herman Calloway was based on his other grandfather, actually named Herman Curtis, and he was in the band Herman Curtis and the Dusky Devastators of the Depression. That alliteration is getting me.
Well, and I also thought when I read the back of the book, because unlike you, I do that.
Yes.
And it said on the back of the book, Herman Curtis and the Dusky Devastators of the Depression, or Herb Calloway is the character, but with the 6 exclamation points. I was like, oh, those are like
no
to be charming and funny. No, the 6 exclamation points existed historically.
Music and entertainment during the Depression was super important for people just to kind of keep going. So these kind of like gig work musicians were very not uncommon. Michigan at the time did prevent Black people from owning businesses. Herman Curtis avoided this by having a white friend put his name on the records, which actually happened in the book as well. They had a white member of their band, specifically who like legally owned the club. It was in his name, and he would do all the bookings for them, like around Michigan. So they'd be like, surprise, we're like a mostly all Black band. What are you going to do? Have us not perform?
Like, you can either not have music or you can let us go.
Exactly. So that was really cool. And he also put in the author's note something about the fact that, like, when he was a kid, he would always be so bored listening to his grandparents tell their stories. And now he's like, I really regret that because, like, it was really important history that's just lost. So he's like, always listen to relative stories, even if you're bored. And I thought that was very sweet because it's true. Like, it's stuff you appreciate knowing later on.
Yeah. I love, this is not even our first book that has been based on the author's grandparents.
Yeah.
The Night Watchman was like that. And I think there was 1 or 2 others that I'm not remembering.
There's been a couple. I know Violetta was a lot about the author's mother and also experience of her daughter. Yeah.
So I feel like that is always a good, like, if you have an interesting person in your family, mind them for content.
Yeah,
like, it always works out.
But yeah, so that's really what I got for you. This book doesn't go too heavy-handed into the history, I would say. Like, Uprising was rooted in the history.
Yeah.
This was more, setting-based and then based on his family. Mm-hmm. So again, like we said during those episodes, it's hard to critique if it's about, like, your family and it's about their stories. Mm-hmm. Like, but yeah, so I think we can head to the star calculator.
All right. Well, I can go first because I have a really easy answer, which is I'm giving it 5s across the board. Maybe it's going out on a limb for historical accuracy just because, like we said, it's kind of setting tone based. Mm-hmm. But I love what he pulled from his own family history.
Yeah.
And I just think this book is fantastic in all ways. Like, I was completely floored by it, not having read it before. So it's a 5 for me.
Solid 5. Wow, you've had a couple straight 5s this season. It turns out Grace just really needs children's books to believe in historical accuracy.
I just need the warmth in my heart.
It's true. So don't we all? I have the exact same scores I gave last week. 5s and everything but story. Story I gave a 4 just because there was points, like I said, where it felt a little repetitive. The character's a little flat. I mean, that's still a 4.8 overall, so that's a 5 for me.
It's still a pod 5.
And I actually, right before recording this, went back and saw what I put on Storygraph, and I put it as a 4, and I changed that immediately. I'm like, I have no idea why I put this. Like, this is a great book.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to dwell on it a little bit to realize exactly how good you had it, Anyway, so that's Erin. That's 2 5s in a row.
Both of the episodes we've recorded in 2025 have been 5s. Is it a sign?
And are we going to continue the streak? Next week, we'll have to see.
And next week is actually part 1 of our 2-part season finale.
I know. Don't despair that the pod season is ending. Smile because it happened. So we're finishing up with our final historical fiction children's series.
Yes.
And we're having fun with this one because we're doing Royal Diaries.
Yes, which was the more sophisticated Dear America because they were princesses and they had gold-lined pages.
Yes. So we're doing 1 week is books that I picked, and then 1 week is Erin's picks. So next week is me. So for Royal Diaries Part 1, we're going to be reading Anacaona, Golden Flower, Eleanor, Crown Jewel of Aquitaine, and Jahanara, Princess of Princesses.
And I'm really excited to talk about these.
We have so much to say.
It's hard because I have a lot of thoughts on the series as a whole, and I'm like, should I tell them next week, the following week? You'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok are all _pod.
You can also join at the tail end of our Storygraph challenge. Never fear, the challenge isn't ending. We keep it up forever. But only 6 more books to go, which is very, very huge for us. I actually have now, as of this morning, finished all the books for the season. So I have completed the challenge.
And I believe I still have a couple to go. However, I have already read some of the Royal Diaries, so my challenge is marked as complete.
Okay, so there we go. And of course, as we get into season 4, we'll have another challenge then. So there's always a new opportunity to see if you can beat us to finishing them all.
And it will be books for grown-ups.
Yes.
So in case...
Unfortunately, kind of.
Unfortunately, kind of. Exactly.
Unfortunately, all on my reading goal for the year. But anyways, we also have that recommendation form in the bio of our socials if you have anything you think we should be reading, or you can shoot us an email, 5orfloppodcast@gmail.com.
And in the meantime,
happy reading!
Bye!